Welcome back. Remember, you can stay interactive on our various social media platforms. That is Joy Business on Twitter, Facebook, and on Instagram. Now, let's start with our stories because telecom operators say the current challenges with halting the upfront payment of the communication service tax justify proposals for more time. The telcos were in September this year directed to stop charging the upfront 9% tax from November 2000 and 1966. However, operators had actually pushed for more time due to challenges in calibrating their systems. Chief Executive of the Telecoms Chamber, Kenashibe, says these challenges could have been avoided if their proposals were accepted.
When we engaged with the Ministry of Communication and the NCA and GRA at the very first time when we were discussing this, we asked for a longer time because of the fact that with government deciding that and we are agreeing that we're going to stop the upfront deduction, it meant that you were going to take all the products that you have, and you agree that the telcos, because of the flexibility that now is offered to customers, where customers have to be spoiled for choice, there are several products that they need to deal with. So you needed to take these products commercially and then put in the 9% CST, which effectively is a 7%, do your computation so that it will now be the tariff that has not changed plus the taxes, and then you then give that for all these products that you have. Then you then give that to the technical team on the intelligent network to be able to put that together. Then when you do that, you also need to be mindful of the fact that apart from the over 200 products that you're dealing with, you also have to deal with several channels. So there are people who buy a scratch card, there are people who buy a voucher, there are people who would use mobile money, there are people who would buy it from the banks. And you know that the banks are several banks as well. Then you also have to look at the third parties where people, also buy. So you need to then go and change in all of these places. You need to put that together, and then you need to, after you've technically done the configuration, you need to do your various tests, make sure there are no bugs that are involved in this. And anybody will tell you that when you do any of these ICT projects, definitely you need to have enough time to be able to deal with all the bugs, change your messages, your messaging across all platforms. So definitely this takes a bit of time. So going forward, I think the solution to all of this is a bit more engagement with policymakers, with regulators and industry, and a bit more certainty so that if you knew that this change was going to come, then you could start planning it.
But this way, some would say that you run an intelligent system and a network and all those things. If I look at the explanations being given, then maybe you should give it 2025 or something. People will say that this is an intelligent network, you could have just programmed it to accept this problem. And therefore, asking for more time, some will say that it is not justified.
Well, you see, the networks are as intelligent as they can be. But the thing about it is that there's work that needs to be done. And from anybody, any engineer working on this would knows that with the number of products that you have, with the number of channels that you have, definitely it would take some time. If you take any system, any IT implementing system, definitely there are some times are required. So it is the reason why we say that if we engage even prior to when these policy initiatives are going to be taken, then it gives opportunity for all of us to be able to share the things that need to be done to let this happen.
To sanction one of the players for recent market development. Now you have to stay tuned to Joy Business on our various platforms for more details on this particular issue with respect to what action that player did and what will be the level of sanction coming from the National Communications Authority. Let's do economy, because Ghana and South Africa have taken steps to establish a formal platform to deal with all trade and economic issues affecting the two countries. Now, this has led to the establishment of a presidential binational commission, which would help deal with job creation in the two countries. Now, speaking at the Flagstaff House, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa says they couldn't have had this deal at this time.
We've had very, very, very strong relations with them. The purpose of this visit is to to transform that relationship into something even more intimate and stronger. We want to build a strategic partnership with South Africa. South Africa is our second biggest trading partner on the continent. And we believe that the time has now come to enhance the conversation and the relationship between our two countries. And that is the purpose of signing not the standard permanent joint commissions for corporations that are quite common, but a binational commission at the level of the presidents of our two countries to indicate the importance that we attach to the relationship on both sides. And that binational commission is now going to encompass the work in several different areas, in investment, in trade. But more importantly, I think, and I said this to the president during our tete-a-tete as well as during the bilateral, I think it's also very important that we stress the nature of cultural exchanges between our two peoples. There's a strong basis for it here. South Africa's cultural icons like Miriam Makeba, Hugh Masekela. Ghana was their second home in the dark days of apartheid. And they provide us with the link between the cultural communities of both countries. I believe that these people-to-people exchanges, cultural linkages, become a very strong force for promoting a sense of solidarity and good relations between our two peoples. In the same way, we know that South Africa today is a major sporting power in the world. World rugby champions, world this champions, in so many areas. And I'm very strongly of the view that we in Ghana can benefit from a structured relationship with South Africa in the field of sports. And I'm hoping that it will be one of the items that the Binational Commission, when it is inaugurated in the early part of next year, will take on board and find a mechanism and modalities for making that happen. South Africa is very soon about to take over the leadership of our continental organization, the African Union. And it is important that they understand that Ghana will be a very strong and supporter of whatever initiatives President Ramaphosa wants to take to advance the cause of continental unity, continental solidarity, and the peace and stability of the continent, and the security of the continent. Whatever decisions that are going to be taken, he should know that Ghana will be firmly by his side, because we know the very positive posture that he wants to adopt for the future of our continent.
My entire delegation are truly elated and very pleased to be here in Ghana. Much as it is a working visit, we already feel so much welcomed, and thank you very much indeed. We've just had wonderful discussions, both at the tete-a-tete level, as well as the talks between our two delegations. And we've touched on a whole range of matters, bilateral, between our two countries, and also continental as well as global issues. And we had an occasion to recall the historical and strategic links between our two countries. Our relationship is not yesterday's relationship. It emanates deep into history. Ghana played an important role in our struggle against oppression, apartheid, and colonialism. And Ghana became a home and a refuge to many South Africans who came here for refuge, for education, and also for cultural activities. And as you say, President, that Miriam Makeba, our national icon, who is now departed, as well as Hugh Masekela, your very, very good friend who also has departed, made Ghana their home, and they sharpened their own cultural prowess also here in Ghana.
Now, tomorrow is Farmers' Day, a day that actually set aside to celebrate farmers in the country and their contribution to the whole economy as a whole. Now, if you're seeing or some observation on the ground, you're seeing more young graduates or maybe youth actually venturing into agribusiness and farming. And what is actually accounting for this? Is it that things are changing that we don't know about? Well, Anthony Morrison is the chief executive of the Agri-Business Chamber, and he joined me in the studio today as part of our whole discussion and talk about Farmers' Day, which is tomorrow. Now, Anthony, first help me out. What is the state of the sector right now from the perspective of those who are in the agribusiness area?
Thank you very much, and a very good afternoon to your viewers. I think that a lot of things have accounted for the youth getting...
But let's first establish the state right now. Are things that good? If we had a story about a glut in production, what is the state of the agribusiness, so to speak, right now?
I think the major problem is structural non-alignment or misalignment.
What does that mean?
of the industry. Primarily, most of our policies have been a productive policy, or what we call the production policy. And we have consistently been emphasizing on the fact that we need to increase yields per acre, and we need to also make sure that our production has gone up. But we also haven't taken the same time to take a look at what are the other contingencies within the value chain that needs to be met for the production sector to be very effective. And some of these things is what we see currently with the Fumbisi area, where the problem is coming from with regards to the rice challenge. But I must say that the rice challenges are across the country. You go to Volta region, the same issue. Some part of Eastern region, we having the same issue. So a lot of things have accounted for this. And I think that we now need to look at moving from productive policy to market-oriented policy.
Or well, some would say that value addition, maybe.
No. When we talk about market-oriented policy, what we're talking about is that, yes, instead of keeping the produce for 3-5 years, and you quite know that most of the rices we import has been kept for about 5 years before getting to us. So they do a lot of production, they do warehousing, they make sure that they do proper storage to avoid aflatoxins and all those other challenges with storage things. So what we're talking about is that let the market determine what kind of product should be produced, and let the market uptake the produce at the farm gate instantly, so to avoid all the other contingencies or the challenges of having a warehouse. Yes, having a warehouse is good, but the cost of warehousing is another thing. So who bears the cost? The cost eventually have to be transferred onto the consumer.
Yeah. I've seen a trend, and maybe it's just because I'm observing it now. I've seen more of the youth, more young graduates venturing into the agri-business space. What has changed? Or maybe just like media, we are now exposing it, but it has already been there. I mean, way back in school, we had people who were doing agric and venturing into that and doing all sort of things. Has something changed? That is why I know of a friend who was into banking, investment banking. He left that space and he's now into agribusiness.
Well, as you rightly stated, I think the media has been a contributing factor.
We are talking about it more.
Yes, and I must also acknowledge the fact that the planting for food and jobs, the euphoria about the planting for food and jobs, the noise, whether it's working, whether it's not working, the other challenges that farmers are facing with access to inputs, access to some of their fertilizers and the land clearing challenges, all this noise have made people, if kind of sentimentalism brings in some investment or some form of people making inquiry to know what is going on. I want to do this, I want to do that. But overly, most of the youth, though, are going to production, but most of them are fascinated about the agri-tech area. Others are looking at the value addition, and others are also looking at service. So we need to put this into context as to, okay, the percentage of youth that are coming into the agribusiness value chain, what percentage is actually going to production? What percentage is actually going, even if it's production, we're looking at crops, livestock, aquaculture. So we need to separate the dynamics.
Is there future for someone like me having to drop my suit, not necessarily, and then come in and then do agric, venture into all sort of things. Do you foresee a future for these young guys who are coming into the space?
The future for the industry is huge. It's enormous. It's something that
some would say that I heard that about 50 years ago.
No, I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
We read about this. Sorry,
I've been in the industry for 11 years, and most people out there
making a lot of money, I suppose.
I didn't do agric.
Okay.
I did sociology and philosophy, and the point is that once you have the passion, once it is an industry you want to ply your trade, you need to go through the mill, learn the very nitty-gritties, the foundation, what we call the entry point knowledge of every industry. And once you understand and identify your major market and constraints, you should be able to, jump the hurdles.
My final question before you leave, there's always been the question about funding. Has it also improved, or it is still one of your biggest challenges in convincing these young folks to come into this business?
Thank you. I think the funding is drying up wherever you go, anywhere in the world. That's why we're talking about the innovative financing. We need to find a way of financing agriculture. We need to find a way of financing production. We need to find a way of financing the value chain processing. Governments over the years have made some strategic structures in place to support the industry. GESEL is one that we're currently trying to work on, which goes to mitigate access to finance. The other is what we're working on currently, which is the agricultural insurance. Once you have insurance, it's much easier for you to access credit. Now, what we need to do is to encourage most of the investors or bankers or those or financial institutions that support or give credit to actually extend their services into portfolio management within the industry. They do that for oil and gas. You see any of the bank being present where an oil and gas project is being done.
Facilitate that activity,
exactly. But you don't see them on the agriculture field. When there's a telecommunication, whatever being done, you see the bankers being there. So we want them to look at what I normally call the special purpose vehicle for agriculture, agriculture innovative financing for special. We need to find a way and put together some innovative structures that are sustainable, that can go a long way. And in fact, the other thing is we need to look at financing that takes into consideration the production strategy of agriculture. You don't give finance today and the next month.
Stop.
No, next month
it has to support the whole value chain.
It has to, but do not start taking interest from next month.
Long-term funding.
Take into consideration our production cycle.
Okay.
So production takes 4 months, 6 months. So if you want to pay back or you want us to pay back, give us credit, that will give us the allowance to pay back in 3 or 6 months.
Thank you so much. And as we ahead of the Farmers Day, happy Farmers Day to you, and for some of you are doing such a great work. Let's move on and talk about other stories. Because, Bank of Ghana recently talked about this e-money that is giving the license to GCB to actually launch this product. Finally, the bank has outdoor the program, or the product, if I should say. And today, its managing director has been giving us more details about this e-money platform that they call G-Money.
Dr. Ernest Addison, the Governor of the Bank of Ghana, approved our request to create electronic value backed by equivalent cash to provide customers with access to electronic wallets through the following: unstructured supplementary services data, USSD, the bank's internet banking platform, mobile banking application, the app, point of sale device, the POS, quick response code, QR code, automated teller machines, ATMs. The Bank of Ghana's commitment to drive financial inclusion is projected as one of its key strategic objectives, and the passage of the Payment Systems and Services Act 2019, Act 987, creates an enabling environment for the ongoing digitization processes in the economy. Under Goal 9 of the UN Sustainable Development Goals, which focuses on industry, innovation, and infrastructure, we seek to bridge the digital divide which is crucial to ensure equal access to information and financial services. G-Money affords customers the freedom to perform transactions regardless of their mobile network operator.
Now, securing credit has been one of the biggest challenges for most firms. Even those big ones out there are struggling over the years to ensure that they get this credit from firms out there. Well, the Bank of Ghana has actually released the data that gives us the actual cost of credit out there. And my colleague, Philip Nafuri, has been going through this data. It's about this APRs. Tell me more about this APRs that the Bank of Ghana has released.
Okay, so Bank of Ghana put together data that chronicles the interest rates banks are offering on various types of loans to both enterprises and to both households. Households, mainly consumers, individual consumers. And Bank of Ghana is doing this to ensure that there's some transparency around the pricing of loans. We are always having a discussion about high rates, high rates, high rates. Now, the annual percentage rate, as you said, APR, looks at the real cost of these loans, and it factors in things such as the insurance, the commitment fees, etc. So it will look at, let's say, vehicle loans. How much is EcoBank? How much is UBA? How much is Stanbic Bank giving out as? What is the rate they are using?
But Philip, so does it mean that all along these commercial banks out there have not been telling me the true rates with respect to what they advertise? So it had to take Bank of Ghana to compel them to come up with this rate for us to really get this appreciation.
George, Bank of Ghana used to publish this annual percentage rates and average interest rates, even as far back as 2015, 16, 17.
We didn't know about it, right?
No, it was, you see,
a lot of customers out there didn't know about it.
It all comes down again to the commercial process. But you know, back in the day, banks were supposed to advertise their base rates in the banking halls.
Yeah.
And when they brought in the Ghana reference rate.
And even in the papers, that's what we're doing.
Exactly. And then when they brought in the Ghana reference rate, it changed because Ghana reference rate is the base. And I think currently it's at 16.1%.
Yeah, you're right.
Then after the base, then you add your risk premium as a bank. So I think they haven't been publishing the annual percentage rates for some time. And I think now, normally they just do the general average lending rates. Yeah. So now they've given bank-specific rates on various loans.
So when I went through the data, I saw commerce, manufacturing, agric, other consumables and all the rest. So tell me, the one big question I want to answer is that which bank out there is the best bank for George Yafi to get a mortgage or a loan to get maybe a Maserati or something?
Well, George, that would be difficult to say. I mean, when I was going through the mortgage one, for example, I realized that about 8 banks had rates attached to their names. We discussed it 2 days ago on Joy Business Prime with our colleague Sandra Isinam, and we're looking at the rates at which they're lending. But some of them even had ranges. Yeah. So it wasn't specific.
And that's the change that I'm seeing in this data. First, you could point out that Bank A has this rate, but now you're looking at the range. So if you look at vehicle, Standard is doing between 14 to like 40. Interesting.
So it's a range. So maybe if an enterprise goes, they may get, let's say, 18, 19, 20%. If an individual goes, they don't really know your credit score, then they'll give you a higher rate to compensate for the risk that you are bringing as an individual with no proper track record, for example. So it differs. But I think Bank of Ghana is doing this. At the core of this is the transparency.
And now we're coming to the question about the morale behind this, because it looks like Bank of Ghana is trying everything to bring down the cost of credit. But some would say that, well, the cost of credit is about the economy. If inflation rate is down, if I can track where you live and all those things, good credit reference bureau and score, that would drive down the cost of credit.
So now we have all the macro numbers right. But it's the other inefficiencies the governor mentioned at the MPC, which you and I were there. And if the banks don't work on this, we wouldn't see interest rates coming down to appreciable levels. There's also a debate as to what we can describe as an appreciable level. If Ghana reference rate is 16.1% and government of Ghana is borrowing on a 91-day cycle at 14%, you don't expect to get a loan for 3 months.
But Philip, what about the disconnect? I look at inflation. I stand to be corrected, the latest rate. And look at 7 to 16 being even the Ghana reference rate. That's a huge disparity.
That's a huge gap.
So you want to look at somewhere inflation and all those things being around the same parallel and all those things. That's another critical question that Bank of Ghana. But Philip, as we wrap up on this, I want to ask you that. So for you, do you think that Bank of Ghana could be making headway with this in trying to use the moral suasion thing to force the banks to drive down their cost of credit?
I don't think it will work in any economy. Kenya has tried interest rates capping. It didn't work, and then they reversed it. What you need to do is to allow the market itself to accept these rates. And as we work towards fixing the inefficiencies, I think things will work, all things being equal, in the next, let's say, in the medium to long term.
The economist will always say, and all too soon we have to draw the curtain down on this. And what, as from us here, Joy Business, and even the team in production, like to wish Philip and Free a happy birthday. A great guy in the team, and you know he has a party at some coded locations. So if you want to be there, just DM him. All too soon we draw the curtains down on Marketplace. Remember to stay interactive with us on our various social media platforms: Joy Business, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Have a good afternoon.